The wait is finally over, folks. It's been almost 8 years since Canada, Mexico, and the US were named co-hosts, and the expanded 2026 FIFA World Cup is literally right on our doorstep. In this explainer, we're breaking down absolutely everything you need to know ahead of the massive Matchday 1 kickoff. We're talking Group A opening fixtures, host venues, and those gritty tactical battles on the pitch. Oh, and if you're playing fantasy football, grab a notepad right now. We've got the data-driven picks you need to get your squad off to a flying start. Okay, let's dive right into this, because before a single ball is even kicked, we have got to talk about this stage. $300 million. Let that sink in. That is the massive price tag for renovating the legendary Estadio Azteca down in Mexico City. They've been modernizing this iconic venue from May 2024 right up until early 2026, all to prep for this exact moment. Because at the end of the day, all that money, all that intense preparation, and the crushing pressure, it all boils down to one thing: the iconic FIFA World Cup trophy. Every single player stepping onto that pitch for Matchday 1 is chasing total football immortality. The journey to lifting that 18-karat gold prize begins right here, right now. So here is our game plan. First up, the Azteca rebirth. Then we'll look at the tactical dynamics of the Mexico-South Africa opener. Third, we're heading over to Guadalajara for South Korea versus Czechia, and to cap it all off, Matchday 1 of fantasy picks. Like I said, keep that notepad handy, because this data is going to give you a serious edge. All right, part 1, the Azteca rebirth. Let's set the scene in Mexico City for the opening ceremonies and the very first match of the tournament. This stadium is hallowed ground in world football, and it's making history yet again. Officially going by Estadio Banorte for the tournament, the venue has been completely reborn. They've bumped the capacity up to a staggering, deafening 90,000 spectators. We're talking state-of-the-art LED video boards and a totally upgraded lighting and sound system. Also, fun fact, it's the first stadium in history to host 3 World Cup openers, having done the honors back in 1970 and 1986. And the modernization isn't just physical. FIFA actually brought on the crypto exchange Kraken as an official supporter, putting their branding front and center for literally billions of viewers worldwide. Moving on to Section 2, the opener, Mexico versus South Africa. With the stage set, let's pivot to the match everyone is waiting for at 1300 local time. Now, what's really fascinating here is how these two completely contrasting styles are going to clash, especially when you factor in the environment. Mexico has a massive natural advantage here, since the Azteca sits 2,200 meters above sea level. They're fielding a domestically heavy squad that includes a super exciting 17-year-old prodigy, Gilberto Mora. On the flip side, South Africa is bringing this intense, hard-pressing approach inspired by African Champions League winners, Mamelodi Sundowns. It's a style that literally helped them top their qualifying group over Nigeria. But man, deploying a high press at altitude against a crazy passionate home crowd, that is going to be an incredible physical test for them. And you better believe the expectations on the hosts are just immense right now. This quote from a fan hits the nail on the head. Mexico hasn't lost a single game in 2026. They are seriously peaking at the right time. Under coach Javier Aguirre, who incredibly is in his 3rd stint with the national team, anything less than a deep run, maybe matching those 1970 and 1986 quarterfinal appearances, is going to be seen as a massive disappointment by the home fans. Next up on the agenda, the clash in Guadalajara, South Korea versus Czechia. Later that evening, the Group A action rolls on. We've got a fantastic cross-continental matchup here. South Korea comes into this having dominated their qualifying group, and they are, as always, looking to their talisman, 33-year-old Son Heung-min. This is highly likely his final World Cup, which just adds a whole extra layer of emotion to their run. Then you have Czechia, who are playing under this name at the tournament for the very first time. They took the absolute hardest road to get here, surviving 2 agonizing penalty shootouts in the European qualifiers. They might not have a roster full of global superstars, but make no mistake, they are gritty and incredibly resilient. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how a tight, nervous match like this might just come down to a single corner kick. As fans are already predicting, Czechia actually has it in them to steal a late set-piece goal. Their physical, robust style makes them incredibly lethal from corners and free kicks. That is exactly the kind of threat South Korea's defense is going to have to drill relentlessly to stop. All right, time for Section 4, Matchday 1 Fantasy Picks. Step into the manager's office because it is time to build your squad. With the new expanded 40-18 format, we're looking at a bumper 24 fixtures per match day. That means a ton of mismatches to exploit. We're leaning on the data guys over at 11FI here to find our mathematical edges. Just look at these numbers. Germany is projected to score an insane 3.85 goals. And Spain, not only do they have a projected 3.49 goals, but they also boast a tournament-leading 68% chance of keeping a clean sheet against Cape Verde. So if you're building your Matchday 1 squad, it's pretty simple. You absolutely must load up on German attackers and Spanish defenders. So who exactly are we picking? Erling Haaland is a must-have at $10.5 million. Norway is playing Iraq, and Haaland has a ridiculous 1.36 goal involvement projection for just this single match. Up in the midfield, Bruno Fernandes at $8.5 million is a total steal. Remember, this year's game gives you a point for every 2 chances created, which perfectly suits his role for Portugal. Up front, Spain's Mikel Oyarzabal is fantastic value at $8.1 million given those high team goal projections we just talked about. And finally, at the back, Germany's Joshua Kimmich at $5.5 million is practically essential. He gives you clean sheet potential, he takes set pieces, and he's projected to be the highest scoring defender of the entire round. But listen, to afford heavy hitters like Haaland and Fernandes, you've got to save some cash elsewhere. So here's a brilliant budget differential for you. Switzerland's goalkeeper, Gregor Kobel. At just $4.7 million, he gives you a cheap route into a Swiss defense that has a 62% chance of keeping a clean sheet on Matchday 1. Plus, Switzerland actually has a really favorable run of group stage games, so you can pretty much just set him and forget him. All right, the data is laid out. The $300 million stadium is ready, and the teams have arrived. Now the tough decisions are totally up to you. Who's getting the captain's armband in your Matchday 1 squad? Are you playing it safe and trusting Haaland against a rock? Or are you backing a differential captain to skyrocket up your mini-league rankings? Finalize your strategies, enjoy the beautiful game, and get ready for an absolutely unforgettable kickoff to the 2026 World Cup.